guess what? We're still in the land of our captivity. We haven't been back to our homeland yet. Think about it. You ever been to the continent of Africa? But as a whole, our people that were brought over here are not in that homeland remaining, right? Read on.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
No, sold to your friends.
Sold unto your enemies.
So who did God call those people that we were sold to in slavery? Enemies, exactly. So all praise. How you doing, my brother? My brother got a question? The image of Christ. Okay. So tell me, what's your name, bro? Corey? I can't hear you. Cortland. Okay, brother Court. All praise. Now, what have you learned? You go to church? What do you know about the image of Christ? What have you been taught how Christ looks like? Come a little closer. Come a little closer. You said what now? You saw a white image, right? You saw a Caucasian man. All right, now let me ask you. Do you think that the image that you've seen in church of Christ, that image of that Caucasian man that you just said, you think that's in the Bible? You don't. Okay, now where would you go to prove that? If you say you don't believe it's in the Bible, or where would you go to prove that? Because this is what has been taught throughout our churches. This is the image that we've been getting ever since the Renaissance period over 1,000 years ago. So how do you prove that Christ is a black man according to the Bible? Now, Bible verse, what verse you go to? You know? Here, we're going to show you. Now, Christ is in Matthew, but we talk about his image. So let's get Revelation 1:1.
Revelation chapter 1, verse 1.
Now, check this out. We're about to reveal Jesus Christ to you, because if you want to know the true nature of Christ and what he looked like when he was here in his ministry, you got to go to the Bible. That's the source, right? So read that.
The revelation of Jesus Christ.
Now, revelation means to reveal. So this is the revealing of Jesus Christ. So we're going to play a game of elimination. Go ahead.
Which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass.
Give me verse 10.
And I turned to see the voice that spake with me. And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks.
Now, which one of these images has the 7 golden candlesticks? You see this image here that we've been given, like you said, in the Christian church? Or you see that image right there? You know what the 7 candlesticks represent? That's called the menorah. That's the menorah that represents the 7 churches when you read the book of Revelation. But that menorah, Moses commanded the children of Israel to build that when they were in the wilderness. So John the Revelator is saying that he saw Christ, but he saw behind him 7 golden candlesticks, not a wood cross. Notice that. Read.
And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man.
So he said, I saw one that looked like the Son of Man, and one that looked like Christ, the man that I walk with. Read on.
Clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
So he had on a bad garment with a golden girdle around his waist. Now we're going to get his image, verse 14.
His head and his hair were white like wool.
Now it said Christ, his head and his hairs, because he had hair on his head and he had a full beard. It said they were white and woolly. Now wool is what? A texture, right? Now who have wool textured hair on this planet? What people? Right, so-called African Americans, black people, because wool hair is what we call afro hair, nappy hair, sheep hair. Like when you see a sheep or an animal like that with wool, it's that real thick hair. So it's that his hair was like wool. Go ahead.
As white as snow.
And fully white. Read.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire.
Now you see here, this Caucasian image got blue eyes, but it said his eyes were as a flame of fire, because guess what? Christ drank wine. When you read that prophecy in the book of Genesis, chapter 49, it says he drank wine, but he drank wine in moderation. So when we drink wine, the whites of our eyes tend to get red. Read.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
Now his feet, now I'm looking at your hands and your feet, they're the same color as the rest of your body, right? Now, what color is brass? It said his feet like unto fine brass. What color is that? Your skin. Your skin is what? Brown. Your skin is brown. So brass is a derivative of brown. But let's see how dark that brown was. Read.
As if they burned in a burning.
So you take that brass, put it in an oven, burn it, take it out. What color is it going to be? It's going to be black. That's right, Brother Cortland. So now you know the true image of Christ. He's a black man according to the Bible.
Yes,
the
right.
greatest man that walked this planet looked like me and you, with woolly hair and black-brown skin, and he led the nation of Israel. That's our Messiah, who only came for the 12 tribes.
Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2. Judah mourning.
So Judah, mourner, meaning that the Jews are in mourning. Mourning is like sadness. It's in a bad estate. So you heard of the Jewish people, right? But those people over in Israel today, they're not the biblical Jews. We're going to prove that to you. But it said, Judah mourners, read.
And the gates thereof languish.
Gates is talking about our leadership, Brother Portland. Like, who's, you 16, so who's some of your leaders that you look up to? Okay. Okay. What about, what's her name, Sexy Red? That a leader for you? Your leader? What about Lil Uzi Vert? Because that's who they put forth as y'all leaders, right? Right. Exactly, brother. But you mature for a 16-year-old, but a lot of young men and women that are your age and older, they follow after these people. So read that again.
Judah mourning, and the gates thereof languish.
So our leadership is languishing. We don't have any good role models. That's what the Bible is saying about Judah, the real Jews. Read.
They are black.
They are what?
They are black.
They are black, just like we read about Christ being a black man, feet like burnt brass, just like you, like it came out of a furnace. The biblical Jews are black. Read.
Unto the ground.
Unto the ground, because we got dirt that we standing on top of, and what? The deeper you dig into that soil, the darker it gets. So it's talking about the Jews, Brother Courtney, what we call so-called American blacks or American Indians. God calls you Judah. God calls you Benjamin if you're West Indian, Haitian. And then you also have to find out, all right, if that's what God calls me, what is this right here? Do they teach you this in school? What is this? Okay, do they teach that in school? Because you said you're 16, right? So they're not teaching that, are they? Okay, exactly. But you heard about this in history. You know this happened, right? Now, let me ask you, do you think that I can find this, see these slave ships, see these women and men in the cotton field? Do you think that I can find that written here in the Bible? What would you say? Because that's our history. That's the history of our forefathers and foremothers. They were brought over here on cargo slave ships. They were forced on plantations right here in the South, North Carolina, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana. Plantations, building up the economy for the so-called white man here on free labor. Like if you owned a business, for example, and you had to hire employees, but you didn't have to pay none of them, wouldn't that make you rich? Because now you don't have to put any money out of your pocket. They're giving you all their labor for free. That's what we did here to America, and that's written in the Bible. So let's show you that real quick. Read that. Deuteronomy 28. We're gonna start at 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15.
So listen to this, Brother Cortland. These are the prophecies that will happen to God's chosen people. So this is a sign so you can tell who God's people are. Read.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Now, actually get one and one so he knows. Yep.
Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
So you heard of Moses, right? All right, said, these be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel. So there's 12 tribes of Israel that were in the wilderness after they fled Egypt, escaping from Pharaoh. So these are the words that Moses spake to them, not any other nation. All right? This is your history, brother. Brother Cortland, read.
On this side Jordan in the wilderness.
Because what? Moses told Pharaoh to let my... What did he say? Remember what he said? I know you know. Let my people... He said, let my people go. Let my people go. That's what Moses said to Pharaoh. So he was talking to these 12 tribes here. Those are our forefathers.
That's right.
Now, we're going to go back to Deuteronomy 28 because there was something specific Moses said to those children that was going to happen if they didn't keep God's commandments. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
Right.
to observe to do all his commandments.
So he said, if you would not hearken means to the first 4 letters of hearken is to hear or listen or follow diligently. If you do not do that, as the children of Israel, read.
And his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses,
These what?
all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Now he said, if you don't hearken or listen to follow after God's law, statutes, and commandments, all these curses are going to come upon you and overtake you. Now, let me ask you, Brother Portland, is a curse a good thing or a bad thing? A bad thing, exactly. Because in church, you might hear people say, I'm blessed. I'm blessed and highly favored, right? You heard that saying before? But you never hear anyone say, I'm cursed and highly favored, right? Because a curse is the opposite of a blessing. But Moses here prophesied that the children of Israel would be cursed in the last days by not keeping God's commandments and his laws. Now, when I asked you if you knew about slavery, you said yes. They don't teach it to you in school at age 16. However, you know that it happened in history. I asked you, would you find that in the Bible? But you're not sure, right? You're not sure if it's in the scriptures or not, are you? Okay, so we're going to show you now. Get, about 68 and then we hold Deuteronomy. So we're going to show you now. This is one of the major curses that happened to the children of Israel that Moses said would occur if they didn't keep God's laws. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Now, Egypt is a country, right? But God said that I'm going to bring you into Egypt again. So you know a little history. You said you understood that the children of Israel walked out of Egypt into the wilderness, right? Moses told Pharaoh, let my people go. God used Moses to split the Red Sea, and they walked into the wilderness. Now, after that happened, when did we go back to Egypt? Remember, any period of time where the children of Israel went back, because we walked over, but it said you're going to go back. Read that again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Now he said, I'm going to bring you into Egypt again. I'm going to help you out, Brother Cortland. In history, after we left Egypt, as a nation of people, we never went back. But the Bible said, I'm going to bring you into Egypt again. So now we got to figure out what does God mean. So let's get Deuteronomy. Exodus, sorry.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
So God said, I'm the Lord that brought you out of the land of Egypt. Read.
Out of the house of bondage.
Out of the house of bondage. Now, Brother Cortland, what's another word for bondage? Bondage. Because the Bible is saying that Egypt is equal to bondage. So what's another word for bondage that we use today? Like if somebody got you in bondage, remember what were our people in the plantations here in the South? And what was that called? Slavery. Right, exactly. So read that again.
I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt,
right,
out of the house of bondage.
So the Bible is calling Egypt bondage or slavery, because the children of Israel thousands of years ago, when we were in Egypt, we were in slavery to the pharaohs there of Egypt. So there's a difference between the Egyptian and the Israelite.
Right.
There's a difference between the Hamite and the Hebrew. We are those people that helped build Egypt up and built the pyramids for them to be the world power at that time, just like we did with America. Now go back to Deuteronomy 28:68. Now we know that that word Egypt means bondage or slavery. So now, as we read this, look at this picture as we read it, and you can see visually how it's matching up with the Bible. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So the Lord's going to bring you into Egypt, bondage or slavery again,
With ships.
with what?
With ships.
With ships. You see that, Brother Cortland? He said we were going to go into Egypt or bondage or slavery with ships. Who'd that happen to? That happened to our people. Can anybody else claim that history? Can the so-called white man say that happened to him? Can the Chinese man say that happened to him?
Right.
Can the Arab man say that happened to him?
Right.
Can the East Indian man say that happened to him?
Right.
No, so who's God talking about? He's talking about us. That's us, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Read on.
Again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee.
So just the way Moses said that event was going to happen. Remember when Moses prophesied we were going to go into Egypt or slavery on ships? That was thousands of years before what we call the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
Moses was already dead and gone when it happened. But he was able to prophesy because God said it was going to occur for his children not keeping the commandments. Read.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
And guess what? We're still in the land of our captivity. We haven't been back to our homeland yet. Think about it. You ever been to the continent of Africa? But as a whole, our people that were brought over here are not in that homeland remaining, right? Read on.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
No, sold to your friends.
Sold unto your enemies.
So who did God call those people that we were sold to in slavery? Enemies, exactly. So now you know that there are enemies. We have enemies according to the Bible, because God has enemies. And we're God's chosen people, and the enemies hate God. Guess what? They can't do nothing with God, but what they're going to do, they're going to try to mess with you, because you are the closest thing to God that they can touch. Read.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen
For slave men
and bondwomen.
and slave women, just like you see here in the cotton field, being sold to Master Charlie. See? Men and women. Read.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man shall buy you. Oh, appreciate it. You put it down. No man shall buy you, meaning no man shall save you. Because you heard of Martin Luther King, right? Malcolm X, Black Panther Party, Medgar Evers. All these different brothers and sisters rose up to try to save us out of this bondage or the captivity. But it's only going to happen when we return back to our true nationality and heritage to follow Christ, the black Messiah for the nation of Israel.
That's right.
You understand that, brother? So, Brother Cortland, from this day forth, you know that African American, that's not a nationality. That's not our ethnicity. God calls you Judah. We're the real Jews that the Bible speaks of. So that term African American or American black, that was given to us here in our bondage and our captivity. All right? So now that you know that, what do you think that you can do with that information? So give it to people that want to know, and then what else did you say? Okay, that's a good answer. That's part of it. That is part of it. But now there's a duty for you too. Because it's one thing to know, okay, according to the Bible, Christ is a black man.
Right.
According to the Bible, God only chose one people, and that's the 12 tribes of Israel. According to the Bible, we are the real Jews, because the prophecies in Deuteronomy 28 speak to us going into bondage or captivity, and that will only happen to God's people for not keeping his commandments. So now you know more information at age 16 than 90% of the people out here. Now, when I say what do you do with it, now it's something you have to do to follow up with that. Let's get Deuteronomy. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. And now, Israel, what doeth the Lord thy God require of thee?
So now that you know you are an Israelite, now that you know, now your father, is he American black? So-called African American? Dominican. Okay. So you are one of our northern kingdom brothers from the tribe of Simeon.
That's right.
Simeon. So we got to know that the kingdom of heaven, we're going to get to that too, has 12 gates, and they're only for the 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah, that's right.
But guess what? If your father was so-called Dominican, that still makes you qualify as one of the tribes. Now, if you repent, you get the promises in this book. But these are the steps that you have to take to get there. So read that again.
And now, Israel, what doeth the Lord thy God require of thee?
So now, God is asking, what does the Lord require of you? Now, Brother Cortland, you know you're an Israelite. You know based on your father that you are from the tribe of Simeon. You're from one of the mighty tribes of the nation of Israel. What does the Lord require of you now? Read.
But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways,
Right.
and to love him,
Right.
and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
So you got to love the Lord. You got to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. Now, you got to ask, how do I do that? Because you can't reach out and touch God, right?
That's right.
God is in the heaven of heavens. You can't touch him or give him a hug or shake his hand, right? But there's something you can do here on earth to prove that you love him. You understand? Read.
To keep the commandments of the Lord.
To what?
To keep the commandments of the Lord
Uh-huh.
and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good.
So now, to show that you love the Lord, you will keep the commandments which God gave you for your good. Now, you said your mom, right? You love your mom, right? Now, if you love your mom and she said that, Brother Cortland, I need you to be back in by 10 a.m., but you say, nah, the hell with that. I'll be back at midnight. Are you showing love to your mom? No, you're not. Not at all. If your mom tells you, she say, you got to get your room cleaned up, and I want to make sure that when I get back, you already finished all your homework. And when she come back home, your room is filthy, and you still playing video games. Are you showing love and respect to your mom? Absolutely not. So guess what, Brother Cortland? It's the same thing with God. If we don't keep God's commandments, if we do the opposite of what he said do, then we're showing him disrespect. We're not following after what he told us to do, just like you would follow a parent if you love and respect them. So we're going to give you a couple of commandments to help you as a young man understand that what we must do in order to be in good standing with God. So tell me, what kind of food do you eat? What kind of food do you eat? You eat pork? Okay, so you do eat some pork. What about shrimp? Y'all go to Red Lobster? Y'all get any shrimp or crab or anything like that? Your family do? Okay, got you. So let's get the dietary law, Leviticus 11. We're going to show you some of the simple things that you can do to keep the commandments because they are reasons why the so-called black community has high blood pressure. You heard of that before? You heard of diabetes, heart disease, glaucoma? All these ailments,
That's right.
guess what? They happen to our people based on what? Us breaking the dietary laws of God. So read that.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 7. And the swine.
And the swine, what's the swine, Brother Cortland? What animal is that? Swine. Somebody said, I'm about to eat some swine. What's that? What they saying they about to eat? Bacon, right? That's pork. So the swine is talking about the pig. That's talking about pork. So read that again.
And the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven-footed,
Right.
yet he cheweth not the cud.
So the swine, the pig, if you put a bunch of slop in front of a pig, it eat it. A pig will eat absolutely anything. They found rubber in the stomach of a pig, glass, condoms, whatever you can think of. Pigs will eat anything. So think about it. They say you are what you eat. If you eat an animal that eats anything, what? That makes you defiled just like that animal. That's why God said don't eat it. Read.
He is unclean to you.
So God said he's unclean to you, meaning that we're not supposed to do that. So isn't that simple? Let me ask you. If you never eat You would be. You would be absolutely perfect. If from this day forward you read that and we show you that God doesn't want you eating the swine, that means that you kept that law perfectly for the rest of your life. So don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't be perfect. Because Christ, who we just read, is a black man according to the Bible, told us that's what we got to be.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is